Hey folks, I'm Spencer, and on today's episode of Cult Mania we are looking at Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway. You'll note that I didn't say anything about what sort of film this was in that little intro. That's because writer-director Miguel Llansó has managed to make a film that doesn't particularly feel like it fits into a genre or actually feels like any other film I've seen. It's mainly just odd. Like, really, really odd. I mean, in part it feels like a sort of parody or send-up of a lot of B-movie tropes or exploitation movie tropes. And it's all definitely intended to be funny. It just doesn't necessarily conform to being a standard comedy or a standard spoof. I'll be honest, even before going in to watch the film I didn't really know what I was getting myself in for. I saw the title, watched 20 seconds of the trailer, turned it off because I was like, this is something that I'm going to have to watch. And then I did.
The virus is striking again.
The film centres around D.T. Gargano, a CIA agent played by Daniel Tedeschi, who on the eve of his retirement takes one last job. He and his partner have to, via virtual reality, enter the world of Psychobook, the CIA's operating system, because Psychobook has become infected with a communist computer virus. But as you could probably guess, this operation doesn't go to plan, and Gargano ends up possibly stuck in the virtual reality.
Wake up, Gargano!
And that is by no means the weirdest thing about this film. The performances here are all pretty solid, especially for this sort of film, which is mainly that they're absolutely hammed up into the stratosphere. This is all made especially strange by the fact that all of the performances appear to be post-synced. But, I mean, I did say this film was strange, and that just makes the film stranger.
What the hell happened inside?
This being said, you can tell that the actors all really commit to the strangeness of the film, and I can imagine that filming it was an absolute blast, to be honest. I mean, I can't imagine that there are that many actors who want to perform underneath a cardboard mask of Richard Pryor or Stalin. But that's what you get here. The cinematography, again, is very solid. You've got stuff shot on 16mm, you've got some stuff that appears to have been shot on like videotape. There's some sort of cool, old-fashioned computery, animation-y stuff. And one of the worlds that's in the film is shot in 4:3, because why wouldn't you?
That midget is more important than you can imagine.
But to be honest, the best part of the cinematography in this, I'm going to class it as a kind of special effect as well, is that whenever the characters are in Psychobook, they move like they're in stop motion. Or like that the camera is missing frames every now and again. I mean, it made me think of some of the shots that were in Twin Peaks The Return, or even some of the animated bits in something like Tetsuo. And if you can invoke those films, you're definitely doing something right. I mean, it's just a really good effect that looks really strange, looks distinct, and most importantly, is used every now and again without getting too in the way. I think that actually that goes for a lot of the ideas that are thrown into the film. It has a lot of these absurd little ideas, but they don't fill up the screen. Each one sort of gets its moment in the spotlight and then it's gone. You don't get this sort of sense of like, I've seen this, I don't need to see it again.
Operation Jungle is now in our hands.
Not really going to spoil any of them here. I think a lot of the fun of the film is just seeing what on earth it's going to do with its ideas next, and even stuff that you think, oh, that will be normal, has just been put through the weird machine a few times. But just to give you a sense of the sort of world we're dealing with here, and as it's in all of the promo stuff, it's on the box, you have the president of Ethiopia, who is called Batfro, and dresses like a legally distinct enough version of Adam West's Batman. I mean, if that doesn't make you want to see this film, I don't know what does.
Here comes the most interesting part of the story.
Round 2. Fight!
The soundtrack to the film is actually really, really, really good. I think because you've got this virtual reality world, they lean quite heavily into chiptune for the film soundtrack, along with actually getting some soundtracks that, if you're a fan of 8-bit or 16-bit games, you are going to recognise. It just... a lot of the time, the film doesn't sound like it looks, but in a sort of lovely juxtaposition way, rather than a what? I mean, you'll be doing that face a lot through the film, but not because of the soundtrack. And I really hope that someone picks up the soundtrack and puts it out on vinyl, because I think it would sound great.
Round 1. Fight!
I'll be honest, it's been really quite difficult to think of how to review Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway in a way that actually gives you a sense of what the film is like. I mean, I think it's really quite difficult to even find another film to compare it to. And actually, that's really impressive in the sort of climate we have for movies these days. I think the reference point I've settled on is it's Rook Films' Bedfellow, The Greasy Strangler. Not that the film has the same sort of gross out humour as that film does, but I think it's as much that their sort of absurd level of humour and just some of the way the performances work have a sort of point of crossover. And I think similar to that film, what really works about Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway is that its absurdity is never frustrating, or I at least never found it to be particularly irritating. It is always just funny, but I know that that may not be the case for everyone that's going to see it.
How do I know you're not a figment of my imagination?
Overall, though, I think the film is another sort of film that has to be seen to be believed. It really does, though, feel like a film that you have to see it to get it. I think if you are going to pick up the film, I would get this new Arrow limited edition, mainly because it comes with Llansó's feature film debut, Crumbs, and after watching Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway, I'm very excited to see what that has in store. I mean, the back of the box says it's sort of like a spiritual predecessor, so I'm down for that.
I've got the virus. We need your assistance right now.
If you are game for weird cinema that has a comedic edge, I would definitely recommend checking this out. I mean, it kind of feels tailor-made for the sort of people that I presume watch this channel. I think a lot of the reference points the film has will instantly pop out to you, but I understand that not everyone finds absurdity particularly funny. I think this is one of the first times that I've watched a film when it's come out and actually thought, yes, I think this film is going to get a cult following in the truest sense of the word cult. In that I think it will have people who absolutely love it, and everyone else will probably only remember it because it has a really, really good title. But that's just my opinion. Have you seen Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway? Or is it definitely going on your list? Or do you think it sounds awful? Let me know down in the comments, like and subscribe so that you don't miss any more videos, and I'll see you next time.